Hello everyone, we're here with another modern video. This time we're playing Twiddle Storm. So it turns out I wasn't originally going to record this league, and I didn't. But the league turned out pretty well. I ended up going 5-0. I had some very interesting games beating a lot of hate. And especially in the match against Tron, which I believe was match number 3. You can check the description if you want to see it. If you're only going to watch one match, that's definitely the one I recommend watching. But I am currently testing for the RC in Denver in about a month, and I'm not really sure what I want to play. So in Modern, unfortunately, I don't really like any of the combo decks. I'm not really big on like creature combo decks. Yawgmoth isn't really my thing. Living End is like okay, I guess. Amulet is sort of the big name, but Amulet is never really, I don't know, it's not really my favorite thing either necessarily. And I think I maybe don't have enough reps on Amulet. I might work on Amulet, so there's a possibility I play that. But basically, I'm trying Twiddle. I haven't really played Twiddle in a while, and the last time I played Twiddle, the main version of it that was going around was the Wishclaw Talisman version. This was before One Ring was printed. I think One Ring definitely adds a lot to the deck, and it really opens up some interesting lines. I like that it has orthogonal plans here. Namely, the Breach Tome Scour plan relies on the graveyard. The Ring plan does not. The Ring plan draws cards. The Breach Tome Scour plan doesn't. The Ring plan uses an artifact. The Breach plan doesn't. So they're doing different enough things that not that many hate cards hit both plans effectively. So your opponent kind of has to play a 50-50 with their hate cards. As far as the list I played, I just grabbed a list from the internet. I did make a couple changes myself just based on just a couple of quick games. One is I didn't really feel like I necessarily needed the Pact of Negation main deck. Often, if I was going off with Breach, chances are my opponent can either A, stop me earlier, or B, I can just play 2 Wishes before playing the Oracle. So then I have the ability to play a Pact out of the sideboard using the Wish. I added a Manamo and went down on like some of the Lonely Sandbar Talaria West stuff. I was a little bit concerned at the number of tap lands, but to compensate for the fact that I went down a Talaria West, I saw a lot of lists were playing 3 Sylvan Scrying, so I went up to 4. I added another Ave, and then I'm adding Veil of Summer. I feel like Veil of Summer is very good, and if you can play Veil of Summer, you probably should play Veil of Summer. As a combo deck. Veil of Summer does some interesting things in conjunction with the Ring, especially against Bowmasters. It opens up the possibility of drawing a bunch of cards against an active Bowmasters, and then eventually when you hit a Veil, you just play the Veil and you're fine. You can even do stuff like Ring, draw the cards, stack the Bowmaster triggers, twiddle the Ring, draw more cards, stack more triggers, and then bank on finding a Veil that you then play to nullify all of those triggers. So I like what Veil maybe offers. The sideboard definitely could still use some work. I've maybe thought about a Grape Shot. I maybe have thought about a third Ave. The Echoing Truths are kind of whatever, but they are kind of essential. But I feel like this could use a little bit of reworking. The Manamo was an inclusion for an untapped land that, you know, obviously you can Manamo the Ring, which is kind of nice. And that's the list. So without any further ado, let's jump into match number 1. So here we are with match number 1. Remember that this is getting played from replays because I was originally not going to record this. Our opening hand here is interesting. We have, it's kind of like a mull to 6 because the second Lotus Field is pretty useless, but we have 1 land double preordain. We're likely to draw another card. The scrying is maybe not the best either, but it's not entirely useless. So I do go ahead and keep this. And we hit not really anything we need. I mean, having the breach is definitely nice. And we drew Wish, so we are just maybe a land and a couple twiddles or a twiddle or two away from having a breach plan win. Our opponent leads on Mana Confluence into Okiba Reckoner Raid. So this is the black burn deck, it seems. And although the Mana Confluence is a little bit weird, we draw another Lotus Field, which is maybe the worst draw on our deck at that point. But we preordain, and we find a Misty Rainforest that we are definitely going to keep because we need the second land. We have the hidden strings on top. We do have to make a choice here of do we want to wait and draw the hidden strings. And we do because, again, like I said, now we just need twiddle effects because we have Breach Wish. I'm not really too concerned about much hate coming out of Black Burn, although they played a Grove of the Burn Willows, which is an interesting choice for Black Burn. But I'm going to wait here, draw the hidden strings, and then fetch afterwards. Now, we have an interesting... we have a sort of interesting spot. Do we untap with hidden strings? It's not really that interesting of a spot. But the question is, do we untap with hidden strings? And the answer is just pretty definitively no. It doesn't really gain us anything to do that. I mean, yes, we can play Breach, but then where are we going from there? So we can just play the Sylvan Scrying. And the choice here actually is, do we take the 2 life from our shock land in order to play the Sylvan Scrying? And I think, again, the answer is yes. We can draw, or we can get another land that we can bring in as an untapped land to sort of guarantee a land drop for next turn. So that's one possibility. Our opponent stomps us, so maybe they are some form of red-black burn. But we get an untapped land. Odawara is nice because if they have something that we maybe somehow care about or we get slowed down more, we can at least use its alternate mode, especially if we draw another land and don't end up needing it as our land drop. They exile it and they get the Nezumi Road Captain. And then they play Sword Point Diplomacy. So our opponent is definitely on a brew. We see, well, that's a land, but this is more burn. Bone Crusher Giant. We are going to take the 3 to get rid of the Bone Crusher, just in case there's some sort of fringe scenario where maybe the Stomp and then the Rings protection doesn't work in some very contrived future scenario. It kind of doesn't really matter at this point, because and with that hidden strings, we just have it locked up. So now we can hidden strings... Breach, Wish, get Tome Scour, and we can go through the whole thing. So, hidden strings, it's just the usual combo. They're tapped out, they're playing black-red, they're not going to have any interaction at this point. So that's a pretty nice game number 1, a win on turn 4. Our opponent is definitely on a jank deck, as their name might suggest, but we do play against more real decks this league, don't worry. This is also definitely a weird version of Blackburn. Note that I'm in a situation where I can afford to double wish before casting the Oracle. I think I double wished before casting the Oracle. Yeah, there's the second wish. So just in case maybe they have Endurance and green card or something crazy like that, I can play the Pact. Alright, so we are on to game. And this time, we have a very solid opening hand. We have the Ring, we have 2 lands, Lotus Field. The scrying doesn't matter as much. Twiddle's great. Breach is pretty solid, especially if they like discard us or something like that. I think there's certainly the possibility of that being in their range. They open on double Chancellor of the Dross. I just realized that they were playing Obosh this whole time. Okay, I mean, sure. So they're like black-red Obosh. Alright. So double Chancellor of the Dross is kind of annoying in that it puts us to 14, and assuming that they have like, well, Soul Spike? Isn't Soul Spike 6 mana? They actually can't be playing Soul Spike. I don't know why they would be playing this in Obosh. That doesn't make any sense. Unless Soul Spike is not 6 mana. So Soul Spike might be 5 mana. But, I mean, no one's playing the mana for Soul Spike anyway. Hidden String's great card. That means that we're just in even better shape. We're going to lead on a land. Basically, the only risk at that point is that we get raced. So I'm definitely going to fetch this tapped. And I'm fetching that tapped so that on turn 2, I can go ahead and play a Sylvan Scrying. Now here, I do have the possibility of playing the Lotus Field with only one land in play, twiddling it a couple times, and then replaying playing the ring. But at the end of that, I lose Dream's Grip and Twiddle. I lose Lotus Field, I lose a land, I have one land in my hand, Hidden Strings, Breach, and then I have a ring in play. That, I mean, having a ring in play is strong, but I don't think it's worth the cost here. It's going to take me more than a turn to rebuild that in all likelihood, especially since it will just be a while before I can get a Lotus Field into play again. I'd have to draw a second land, play the Tarn, play the other land, Sylvan Scrying, get the Lotus Field in play. So it's not worth how much that would slow me down, even though I could play a turn 2 ring here. I'm just going to go ahead and Sylvan Scrying. Sylvan Scrying is very nice, even with the Lotus Field in play, in that you can get maybe an interactive piece, or it just is a bait spell on its own. You know, people see a Sylvan Scrying, they're like, oh, that's going to get the Lotus Field. So they're like, okay, we have to counter the Sylvan Scrying. But if you already have the Lotus Field, then you played a discard spell. You turned a spell that doesn't matter into a spell that does. So that's pretty powerful. So in this case, like, look, we get Boseiju. Maybe they have some sort of hate permanent or something like that. We can blow it up with Boseiju if we need to. Now, our opponent is going to play nothing. I don't know what their hand is that they've played nothing. I'm maybe suspecting like Blood Moon or something like that at this point. If they do Blood Moon, again, we're in okay shape because we have this Boseiju. We would need to find a green source, which... Well, we'd need to keep a green source untapped, actually, which would be a little bit rough. Because once we actually get Blood Mooned, then we can't make green anymore. But I'm going to take my chances here with the ring in play. Even if they just like play a Blood Moon next turn, I think there's a chance that we probably just draw enough cards that we will A, find an island, B, find a wish, C, find enough mana to bounce it with Echoing Truth. We draw a Sylvan Scrying, which is really not what we need, but again, I'm not too concerned. Yes, they could have had Bowmaster there. I don't really see any point in waiting, though. Our opponent is going to go for an Ashiok. We don't really need to search our deck anymore at this point, so I'm not too stressed about this, especially considering that our plan seems to be the ring rather than Underworld Breach, nor do I really have anything that matters in the Underworld Breach at the moment. So we're going to play a Steam Vents. Again, hold the Boseiju just in case I end up needing it. Draw a Vizier. We have multiple untap effects. We do have a Wish, which is nice. And from here, it's just smooth sailing. Our opponent is tapped out. And, you know, we're cycling, untapping the land. We do have to be a little bit careful here in that we kind of got down to a pretty low situation with Ring. But even in that spot, we could have played Breach and then used, like, Hidden Strings or something out of our graveyard, even without that many cards. So we had enough mana. But now we're just smooth sailing. So it's all of the untaps. Untap. Ring is up to 8. Slightly annoyingly, if we were to draw again with the ring, we have too few cards in our deck, but we do have to get our deck down noticeably. So we're going to have to draw several cards with like Preordains and stuff, consider. So it's going to take a little bit longer than it otherwise would need to, but nothing too crazy happening. A pretty easy match overall. And, you know, our opponent is playing a brew, which is definitely a... Oh, this is why they're playing Grove of the Burn Bolas. That's kind of clever. That's definitely a very powerful burn spell. So they're playing, I guess, like Black Burn with Needle Bite Trap. But then Obosh. Is Soul Spike 6 mana, though? The world may never know. I don't know. Okay, so on to match number 2, and let's see how that goes. Spoiler alert, you already know because I told you this was a 5-0. But maybe we lose a game. So with match number 2 here, let's take a look at our opening hand. Our opening hand is like okay. We do have Breach Wish, we have a Preordain, we have a couple untap effects. So even though this doesn't have a Lotus Field, we also have the green source for a Sylvan Scrying. I am going to go ahead and keep this. I think there's a decently high chance that we end up drawing what we need. We're going to lead on that Preordain. And we see cards that are not Sylvan Scrying or Lotus Field. I could consider keeping the Consider, but the Consider is just going to dig me deeper. And I'd really like to play the Scrying on turn 2. So that's mainly why I didn't keep the Consider, even though it is more selection if we're willing to slow down. Our opponent leads on Blood Crypt. Tapped Blood Crypt. So as soon as we see Blood Crypt, we're probably thinking Scam, which is probably, I feel like, our worst matchup, maybe. And Douthie can be annoying. They have, like, discard. They play some Blood Moons. Ragavan can be annoying. I'm cycling the Vizier to draw here because I do just need to find a Lotus Field. My hand kind of doesn't do anything if I don't. Our opponent's going to play a Bowmasters. That's a little bit annoying. And we kind of maybe should have cycled it on our turn. But I was hoping, I think, that we wouldn't need to cycle it. No, but we would have known we needed to cycle it there. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, Talaria West is a decent draw because we can transmute for a Lotus Field with this. So that kind of came in clutch. Opponent plays another Bowmasters, which is definitely annoying. So they've got double Bowmasters. But again, here we're leveraging the power of different plans because look, we just have the Breach kill, right? So these Bowmasters don't matter. We have Twiddles for days. We've got Lotus Field. Yes, I'm drawing a card with Vizier, but I have enough life that I can take a couple hits from these Bowmasters. We'll untap again. We've got Wish. We've got Breach. We've got Tome Scour. Here I'm untapping before I play the Tome Scour, just in case, so that I can get the Tome Scour, so that I'm not going down to just one card with like the Twiddle on the stack or something like that. Or like 1 mana. So that basically I want to be able to respond to Tome Scour with more stuff if needed. And we're just going off. We're just smooth sailing at this point. You may notice that at some point along the way I tapped in a land with Dreamscript. They didn't even float mana. If they had floated mana, I could have just passed until main 2 with like my Lotus Field untapped and none of my mana floating. And that would have been totally fine. I could have just done that. But we work our way down and then we win the game. So a nice game 1, turn 4 win against Scam. And on to game number 2. So in game number 2, we have a hand that, again, is a little bit, needs some help. I do end up keeping it. I figure we play some lands. The Bolt maybe for a turn 1 Ragavan I like the idea of. Having Breach is nice, although it could certainly get discarded. But I did just value the ability to kill a Ragavan here. Also, we're on the draw. We're just going to draw more cards. So I didn't necessarily want to mulligan there. And look, we draw the Sylvan Scrying. Just exactly. I figured one of the ways they can kind of run away with this game is if there is just an unchecked Ragavan. So I did just value the ability to remove it there. Now, they could certainly have a Douthie or something like that, which would shut down Breach and would be annoying. And what do you know? That's what they have. But, I mean, we do have potentially the ability to deal with this via some other means. Okay, so... Oh, there we go. Okay, so we draw the ring. That's a very good pickup. We can just play that on turn 3, or we're set up to play that on turn 3. So we fetch. We can get a breeding pool. We'll shock it in. We have to in order to Sylvan Scrying for the Lotus Field right now. And now again, we're set up for Lotus Field, Dream Script, Ring. Opponent's going to hit us with Douthie. We haven't given them anything that matters under Douthie. Wish is a decent draw. It does give us a way to kill Douthie or remove Douthie. We're going to Twiddle. Play the Ring. Draw. I thought they were going to flash into Bowmasters there, but apparently they don't have it. And they have Fable, and Fable's like fine. Fable's definitely like the least scary card in their deck. I mean, it does eventually kind of do things, but I guess my rule... there's certain cards where I sort of make it my personal rule of thumb to never play decks that are bad against that card, right? And Fable's an excellent example of that card. Like, I don't want to be playing decks that are bad against Fable. I want to be playing decks that laugh at Fable. It's just kind of like a slow, like, do-nothing card when you're playing combo decks that don't care about the creatures and are trying to win on, like, turn 3. So, congratulations, you made a Grey Ogre. That's not like a criticism of my opponent. I understand that Fable is good in some matchups. It's just, again, the types of decks that I like to play are decks where Fable is generally not good against me. So we're in a little bit of an awkward spot here because we don't have like a proper Twiddle. We just have 2 of these Viziers, which is a little bit awkward with the Ring. So I am going to cycle these and kind of hope to get something relevant with them. If I can draw like a Twiddle, that would be nice. Here I do Twiddle this Ring. I have another land drop, so I can kill this Douthie and then just like pass a turn if needed. So I'm just looking to draw some cards, potentially. We draw a Vizier. We draw, and yet we don't hit. Basically, I was hoping for a hidden string so I could like play this island and then untap both. But I did float red as like a backup because now I have various like Bolt Breach to clean up their board lines, and then they're not going to kill me from 10, even though I'm going to be taking 3 to the Ring. And I have a Veil potentially for a Bowmasters if they come down with a Bowmasters next turn. So they're playing a Douthie. Then they Dream Script, which was actually, I think, a reasonably big mistake here, because it gave me a Dream Script into my graveyard. But they didn't untap their land. Maybe they're holding something up with it. Here I can Vizier. And again, I don't really have this. Unfortunately, I can't Breach Grip because I'm choked on color of mana. I need red mana to play Breach, and I need blue mana to play Grip, and I just have 1 Lotus Field activation. So what I end up doing is I end up playing Breach, and then play... In other words, I play Snapcaster Mage. And I play Snapcaster Mage targeting Lightning Bolt in order to kill their creature. Modern, like it's, I don't know, 2015 or something. I leave the Dream Script in the graveyard. I have a second Breach, so I'm okay there. And again, my goal at this point is just to preserve life points, because I'm going to have to pass the turn. And if they had, like, Bolt attack me, maybe they dash a Ragavan as well, and then suddenly I'm dying to my Ring trigger. So I would like to be in a spot where this I could easily make situations where this 2 damage matters. So I am going to go ahead and take out this Goblin Shaman so that I am maximally likely to survive the next turn. And again, I have an extra Breach, so I don't care about the Breach dying. So our opponent is using Fable. They discard 2 more Fables. kind of funny. I didn't even notice that at the time. They have another Douthie. Again, we have the ring, so I'm like kind of okay with that. And they do have 2 mana, which could be representing a Bowmasters, but again, we do have Veil, so I'm not super scared of this. We draw a bunch of cards. We get 2 Twiddles, which is very nice. We're going to float some mana. We can twiddle the ring. Basically, I'm preserving the ability to twiddle my Lotus Field and then Veil if needed. So we do actually have to be a little bit careful about some of the ordering here. So I'm not just going to fast forward this. Again, preserving the ability to twiddle and then Veil and then still have blue mana afterwards. So here we're Hidden Stringsing. I mean, they could play Bowmasters, but it's fine if they do. We're going to draw yet more cards. Twiddling that. Again, we're still preserving the ability to twiddle and Veil with either Vizier or Dream's Grip. Note that here I'm floating the green for it, just in case. And then Viziering. So now I have the green already floating, which is nice. And now we have a twiddle on ring, so we're continuing. And now we're just in the clear. Because we just have Veil for whenever we need it. And they would have used the Bowmasters had they had it by now. I was figuring maybe they would be waiting until we're trying to draw 6 cards, because then the 1 hit from coming in plus the 6 draw would kill me. But they didn't have it there, so then they don't have it. It is worth noting that, again, we played around Bowmasters that whole line using Veil. And then we tap them down so that we don't have to worry about any possible interaction when we're going for the Oracle. So that's definitely something that is worth doing. Dream's Grip to tap down their extra mana once you're going off and just kind of clearly have it anyway. It's not like you're going to need the 1 extra mana. Obviously don't do it if you do need the extra mana. But that is game number 2, so we pick up a pretty nice 2-0 against Scam. Again, note that this time they had a Douthie in play, and it didn't matter because we had the ring. So this is what I'm kind of talking about, how the deck has orthogonal plans. You can either be attacking from the One Ring axis or attacking from the Breach axis, and cards that are good against one are not so good against the other. So it does make our opponent sort of have a 50-50 of hate that is happening. All right, on to game number 3, or match number 3. This is definitely, match number 3 is definitely the one to watch if you are just watching one. Here it is, so match number 3. Our opening hand is a little bit slow, but we have cantrips, we have twiddles, so I am going to go ahead and keep this. We're on the play. So we lead on a Preordain. We find a Lotus Field, so that's kind of perfect. The twiddle we don't need. We already have Hidden Strings Vizier. Our opponent leads on Power Plant, Chromatic Sphere. We draw a Sylvan Scrying, which is not the best, and those are not cards we need, so we can ship those. Drawing Boseiju is not a bad pickup. Now we just kind of need a payoff. They Stirrings, they find a tower, so they have 2 of 3 Tron pieces. At the end of the turn, we cycle Sandbar, we draw Consider. We do draw another Twiddle here. So we can play Lotus Field. We can cycle Vizier as a starting point. That's going to untap and get us a card draw. Hopefully, we're basically hoping to find Wish here. I would also accept Breach. But we don't really draw it. So I'm going to Consider. And then we also don't find anything there. Well, we find another Consider. So we can tap that. But what I end up choosing here is I'm like, okay, if I Consider and miss, I need to burn way too many untaps. So what I can do here is I can Boseiju them to take them off of Tron for a turn. And then Sylvan Scrying for something. And then hopefully go again next turn. So we take Otawara again as a potential interactive piece. We Boseiju the tower. Take them off Tron and then reload and go for next turn, hopefully. We're really just looking for Breach or Wish. Wish might not be enough on its own now because we don't have enough mana, although let's see. So hang on, let me calculate that. Was this all let off by a punt? So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So so the problem here is if we wish for Breach, well, we could have wished for Breach and gone down to 3. Actually, yeah, we wish for Breach, we go down to 3, we play Breach. We can't wish for Scour immediately, but we could have flashbacked a Grip or something like that, untapped, and then wish for Scour. So we actually just had this. So I made a mistake in this game. That was just fully a mistake. For some reason I was thinking I had to Breach Wish, or Wish before I played an untap off of Breach. So never mind that, we should have just won this on turn 4. But it's still a cool game. So we ended up playing the One Ring, even though, yes, they could certainly have Karn, because I punted. Like I said, I have not really played this deck. This is the first full league I played with it. I just played like 1 or 2 like loose matches. But I have played a little bit of the Wishclaw version back in the day. But I think that was before it was even running Wish. They do play Karn, and unfortunately they shut down our ring. And then they play Chalice on 1. That's kind of sad. Can't use our ring. We're going to wait with Otawara here to potentially bounce Karn as needed. And then our opponent plays a ring of their own, which kind of doesn't matter. Then they play a Sylvan Scrying, draw with the ring, tick down the Karn, and they're going to play a Trinisphere. So it looks like we just completely threw this game away. They have Trinisphere, they have Chalice on 1, they have Karn on our ring. Okay. But we have Otawara. Otawara can bounce Karn, right? And right now, our route into this game is the ring. So we need the ring unlocked. Otawara bouncing Karn means that the ring is in fact unlocked. Drawing the second Hidden Strings there is fantastic. Because you may notice that Hidden Strings into a Trinisphere is not the worst. Also, Hidden Strings costs 2 mana, and that is not 1 mana for this Chalice of the Void. So we play some Hidden Strings, we're untapping the ring, we draw another Hidden Strings. And we Hidden Strings again. Now, we're playing into a Trinisphere Chalice on 1 active One Ring. The One Ring doesn't really matter, but again, we draw our 4th Hidden Strings. So we're drawing a ton of cards. Cycling the Viziers now. Cycling the Vizier only costs 2 even into the Trinisphere, so it does net us mana. We get to net a little bit of mana off of that. Draw more cards. Now we're going to play a Breach. Now with the Breach, now we can generate some more mana with Hidden Strings. Note, we can't really use the ring anymore because it would kill us because we have 7 cards in our deck and the ring currently has 7 counters on it, so putting the 8th counter would kill us. But now we're making mana using these Hidden Strings. So each Hidden Strings is untapping things that generate 4 mana while costing 3 mana. So each Hidden Strings is generating me 1 mana. Note, I do also have... Where was I looking? I can play a whole bunch of these Hidden Strings because my graveyard is pretty full. Nope. It's like popping out weirdly. Alright, we continue to make mana. And then we Otawara'd the Trinisphere. Okay, so now the Trinisphere is gone. The Chalice is still here. But now these Hidden Strings are generating me 2 mana each. And I can keep flashing back Hidden Strings. Now I can wish for Echoing Truth, bounce the Chalice. Now I'm free. I have regular Twiddles in my hand. And we can just go ahead and win at our leisure. So just make 1 million mana, double wish, and that's the game. So we beat Karn, Trinisphere, Chalice on 1, starting with a Ring and Lotus Field in play. So I thought that was a pretty cool game. Ignore for a second the fact that I should have just won with Wish for Breach. But yeah, I mean, we did it the hard way. Definitely a very, very large amount of hate that we were able to just kind of play through. And we get game number 1 against Tron. So game number 2 against Tron. Let's see what happens. Our opening hand, I think I maybe clicked through that too fast, but it had 2 Breaches, 2 Sylvan Scrying, or 2 Lotus Fields, 2 Sylvan Scryings. I think one non-Lotus Field land. Just too many dead cards. It was effectively like a mull to 4 already. This hand is not good exactly, but it does have Breach Wish. We have a couple Twiddle effects. We can bottom a Breach, and we have Preordained to try and find us the second land. We do need Lotus Field, but we kind of have all of the other pieces. So we're going to Preordain. We do hit the second land, so now we're looking for Lotus Field. So we're going to ship those. Opponent is going to play a Forest, which is very much a relief because it kind of means we get an extra turn. We draw another land, which is really not what we need. We can bottom those. We do pick up Sylvan Scrying, but it is a little bit slow here because now on turn 3, it's going to be Sylvan Scrying play Lotus Field. It's not the worst, but they are just going to have the chance to play something on their turn 4, especially given that we know they just went and got the Urza's Mine. So we're going to play the Sylvan Scrying, get the Lotus Field, put the Lotus Field into play. Okay, so our opponent plays a Karn, gets a Trinisphere, plays the Trinisphere. Looking grim. I don't even have the ring this time. We transmute Talaria West for a Boseiju so that we can blow up the Trinisphere. Opponent ticks down Karn, gets a Pithing Needle. Pithing Needle is our Boseiju that we just got with our Talaria West. So that's unfortunate because now we can no longer blow up said Trinisphere. Play a new Karn so that it has more counters. They go get a Tormod's Crypt, but they only have 2 mana, so they can't play it because the Trinisphere is double-sided. Note that we can actually twiddle this Trinisphere potentially. I was not thinking about that at the time. Maybe I have the possibility. I don't think I would have had it last turn because I didn't have enough mana to play it because I went and got the Boseiju. But it is worth thinking about here. Do we have end step Twiddle Trinisphere? I just completely didn't think about this. It's possible I punted this too. But hey, I mean, we learn things by playing, right? Our opponent plays Ugin. Okay, so Ugin shoots us. Ugin's not scary at all. And I absolutely should have twiddled the Trinisphere on end step and then won. So again, another punt. Like I said, I have not really played this version of the deck before, and it's really not often that... I guess when I was last playing this, I didn't even really play against Trinisphere very much. But learning, definitely learning. And this would have been a really cool play, twiddle the Trinisphere. I feel like most Tron players probably are not... This is not a disparaging thing about Tron players, it's just like, how often does that ever come up, that Trinisphere is getting twiddled? So, I mean, probably most people aren't thinking about that as a line even. But yeah, I absolutely should have done that. But instead we'll play it slower and then win through more hate. So we played second Lotus Field here. Our opponent plays a Ballista on 4. Now, they do have the Tormod's Crypt that they could have played. However, they may be thinking that they just want to clock us, because now we are dead next turn to this Ballista, shot with Ugin, and then unload the Ballista, also charging the Ballista. So I kind of can't blame them for just wanting to put me on a 1-turn clock, and so now I need to untap and win through a Trinisphere. I mean, it's sometimes kind of a tall order. But we bounce the Trinisphere, and then we have Lotus Field, Twiddle, Breach, and now we're just off. And we're going off with Breach, Tome Scour. So the second game, again, not as much hate, although they did Pithing Near over Seiju, which was kind of interesting. But the first game I thought was pretty cool, just purely in terms of the amount of hate that we played through. And this is definitely teaching me things, which is one of the benefits of watching your own replays, right? So watch your own replays and you know, maybe you figure some stuff out that you missed at the time. Definitely will not forget about that in the future now, which is good to know. Hopefully, well, I've not been convinced on actually playing Twiddle for the RC yet, but I do like it in paper, or like, you know, on paper, you know, like the casual use of on paper, not like paper Magic. But that probably means that there will be a little bit more Twiddle as far as videos go, as far as what I test out. I might also test Amulet if I can scrape together the cards online. So maybe some Amulet at some point. We'll see. Who knows? But we're 3-0-6-0 on to match number 4. So we're here in match number 4. And again, we have a pretty reasonable hand here. We have Scrying to fetch out a Lotus Field. We have the Ring. We have Breach Wish. We have a Boseiju as interaction if we need it. So we lead on Tarn. Our opponent leads on Flooded Strand. We get a Breeding Pool, play a second Breeding Pool, and we can play a Sylvan Scrying here. We can get the Lotus Field because we need the Lotus Field. I'm used to already having the Lotus Field when we're playing Sylvan Scrying. Our opponent gets Ragavan Triome, so Island Mountain Plains. So maybe an Omnath deck, maybe a control deck. They play Tarn and pass, which is kind of leaning me towards control, probably. But definitely could still be Omnath. Just the way that they were playing kind of made me feel like they were a control deck. So now I'm in an interesting spot, because I can Lotus Field, Twiddle, play the Ring. If I do that and I walk it into a counterspell, though, I'm not really that interested in doing that. I'm just going to pass the turn. Our opponent gets a Zagoth Triome. But they miss their land drop on turn 3. So they miss their land drop on turn 3, and they're still just holding 2 mana up. So this is really telegraphing a counterspell to me. So again, I don't want to just jam Ring into a counterspell. So I'm just going to pass. And I'm going to look maybe at an end of turn Twiddle and then play the Ring. Maybe something with Boseiju. I don't necessarily want to end of turn Twiddle, play the Ring, only to run the Ring into like a Leyline Binding, though. That would be very bad. They're passing again, so they missed their land drop again. So I'm going to go ahead and Boseiju one of their lands, in particular the white land. They float a blue. I could go for an end of turn Twiddle here, but again, still, I mean, they got the white land back with Hollowed Fountain. Even if I like end of turn Twiddle, play the Ring, draw a card, I still don't want to just run it into Binding and get myself like 2 for 1. So I'm trying to hold the Ring for like a slightly better situation. So we can play Misty. And we're just waiting. You know, we definitely have the mana advantage. Look, we're making 5 mana a turn. We have 5 lands. They have 2. So I'm just hoping for a situation here where I can kind of really leverage some of the mana advantage. No, they discarded a Binding and they discarded Spreading Seas for turn the past couple turns. So they're fully just the control deck. We draw Island. Now we're kind of in an interesting spot here. So note this tapping for red and then 3 green. I have Ave in my board, right? So if I wish, and then they note that so if I wish, and then I have 3 lands left over. So if they counter the wish, I can Twiddle, play the Ring, right? And then when they deal with the Ring on my next turn, I probably am in a spot where I can just Breach Wish and win. Yeah, I'm in a spot where I can just Breach Wish and win. So if they counter the Wish, I'm okay. If the Wish resolves, now I can Twiddle. And if I Twiddle, and they try to counter the Twiddle, I can Veil the counterspell. And then I can... so the Veil would take me down to 2 mana. Wait, hang on. Wish, 3 mana left. Twiddle down to 2, Veil down to 1, but then the Twiddle resolves, brings me up to 4, I can play the Ring. And the Ring can't be countered there. And again, when they deal with it, then I'm in a spot to Breach Wish and win next turn. So if they try to counter the Twiddle, I'm okay. I'm resolving a Ring, and I'm set up for next turn when they deal with the Ring. If they don't counter the Twiddle, now I have Wish, my Twiddle resolves, I've played 2 spells, I can go get an Ave, and then when they deal with the Ave, play the Ring. So this is my spot to go, I think. And I definitely can leverage some of this mana advantage I have. And even though it will only be an Ave for 2 Storm, so it'll be a 2/2, a 3/3, and a 4/4, that's still a lot of pressure on them when they have 2 lands, and we're just threatening a win with what's already in our hand right now. So it turns out that they counter nothing, and now we go for the Ave. And they have a counterspell now. So they counter the biggest Ave, but we still have 5 power in play. And the ability to just do more things next turn. So they Spreading Seas our Steam Vents, which we really don't care about. And now we can hit them for 5. And I should have just breached. I don't know why I didn't just breach. I think I played the Ring. There's no reason to play the Ring here. I should have just breached. So that was... Oh no, I Sylvan Scrying? What was I doing? I don't know what I was doing. This was weird. Yeah, I mean... Oh, I guess this is just fine, kind of, anyway. But I should have just breached in 1. I mean, maybe they have Force of Negation. Yeah, I mean, there's a decently high chance that they have Force of Negation, so maybe I don't want to run Breach into Force of Negation, because Ring is kind of my less valuable piece. So, okay, maybe I can understand it, because Ring just pulls me far enough ahead here. I don't remember what I was thinking necessarily. This was yesterday or the day before that I played these, I think. But, I mean, okay, so, alright. But, I mean, even if they Force of Negation Breach, like, really, do they have an answer for the Aves? No. And then I have a Ring coming down the next turn anyway? Maybe. So our opponent plays a Teferi. And then they bounce News. But they get a tapped land. And they don't have removal for the Ring. So we can kill the Teferi. And we can just go nuts with the Ring. Alright, so we get there. I think that was a pretty nice game, other than maybe I should have gone for the Breach there, although I think it is also arguable that we shouldn't have, because I think the Breach is kind of more valuable than the Ring there, and I don't necessarily want to run the Breach into Counter Magic, and then they can like untap, hold Counter Magic up for the Ring, and I like the Ring at least. If the Ring eats Counter Magic there, then great. But if the Ring resolves, then I'm like drawing more cards to protect the Breach. I think it's defensible either way. And we do have the Ave putting on some pressure. And I mean, let's not forget they were stuck on 2 lands for a couple turns. But we did leverage that to, you know, pretty good effect. So we are up a game in match number. And for match 2 against Control, let's see what happens. Again, pretty good hand. We have Lotus Field, we have lands, we have a Wish. Sylvan Scrying is a little bit dead, but, you know, we can fetch something with it. The lead on Ragavan Triome, lead on Steam Vents, Preordain. Tarn, I'm probably going to fetch a Breeding Pool, but I don't necessarily know that yet, so I didn't play it yet. Now we fetch the Breeding Pool, and this is Sylvan Scrying acting as a discard spell. They're going to counter it. And we're a-okay with that because we already have a Lotus Field. So again, they miss a land drop here, actually. But we play Lotus Field. And I'm not gonna, again, twiddle and play the ring into 2 open mana from control deck. That feels like asking to get the ring countered. And then if the ring gets countered and I lose my twiddle, I just have a wish in my hand. I don't really have anything else going for me. So consider's like, okay. I'm just gonna wait though. I don't really think there's necessarily a reason to do it yet. They tap for a ring, which I am pretty happy about. They play the ring. And now we're in slightly an awkward spot because we actually don't have like Breach to just win immediately, and we don't have a ring in play in order to like win with the ring. We do get to take the opportunity to resolve our ring here. Now if they counter it, that's bad if they have Force Negation. They probably should have drawn with their ring there to try and find Force Negation, but they didn't. We'll draw right away here. So, I mean, I'm kind of expecting our ring to get removed, but they play Teferi. I'm twiddling the ring to draw more cards because, again, I'm fully expecting this ring to get, if not Teferi bounced, then maybe Leyline Binding, or, well, actually they don't have the mana for it, but some sort of removal on this ring at this point. And I would like to convert to more cards, like specifically a Breach is really what I'm looking for here. They actually bounced their ring though, which I think is a very odd choice. Then they play a Spreading Seas on our Manamo. So I think they maybe should have bounced our ring. I mean, we do get to replay it, but that takes most of our turn. Now we just get to untap with an active ring. Which, I mean, yes please. Now we win. So, yeah, I think that was probably a misplay from our opponent. I'm not really sure why they brought in Leyline either. Last game we won with Oracle. We don't have discard spells. But, I don't know. Maybe they were thinking Grape Shot or something. Maybe they have some way to prison out Oracle, and then they don't know that we have, if we have Grape Shot in our sideboard, like maybe they have like Dress Down or something, and they're thinking like alongside Dress Down it would sort of lock us out. But we still can just like Echoing Truth something, so I don't know. But we get match number 4 against Control. So we're 4-0, 8-0. So let's keep winning. On to match number 5. All right, match number 5. They reveal a Jacantha as their companion. We have a pretty decent opening hand. We have Lotus Field. We have the Ring. We have a Twiddle in Vizier, preordained to maybe try and find some sort of other Twiddle. Our opponent leads on Mishra's Research Desk. We lead on preordained. We find another Twiddle to go with the Ring, which is kind of nice. Saga. And then we are going to scrying for a Boseiju in case we need to blow up some sort of hate piece, especially with the Saga coming out if they were to get like a Haywire Might. And then they Writing Desk and reveal Questing Druid. Play Blood Crypt. They're looking to make a Saga token. We're going to Lotus Field. We Twiddle. We Twiddle again. I do play the Ring here, even though they can maybe go get a Haywire Might. They don't have green mana, so I'm just kind of betting that hopefully they don't have green mana, and maybe our Ring will live, because I don't really know how else I'm winning this game, although drawing the Breach was very good. So now they Construct. They play another Construct. They get the Haywire Might, and they had the fetch land to fetch green, getting rid of our Ring, which is unfortunate. But now we can fetch. Well, okay, so the thing is, if I play Breach here, yeah, I have some untaps, but I'm kind of all in on this preordain hitting something. So I choose not to really go with that. And instead, I'm just going to A, put a couple more cards in the graveyard with scrying, B, get a couple lands out of my deck, C, get some cards that can interact with what they're doing, and then hopefully I find a Wish or something like that soon so that I can win with this Breach plan. They're going to hit us. They play a Tarmogoyf. They have another Urza Saga. We draw another land. Now we would be potentially dead here to make a construct. Wait, no, 6-12. I'd be put to 1 with make a construct with this Misty. It would put us dead. But we do just have Otawara for the Tarmogoyf. They also play another Questing Druid. I'll Seek the Beast. And they reveal 2 Wooded Foothills. They unearth their writing desk to pump the tokens. They can make another token if they want, but we're just going to Otawara the Goyf. So we live another hit here. Puts us down to 5. We can cycle the Sandbar. That's what we got with the second Sylvan Scrying, specifically because we would have had 5 mana, so we can Otawara plus cycle. Our opponent is tapped out. To exile the writing desk, and it's all or nothing here. We draw a Preordain off the Sandbar, which is not the worst. It's more looks. Then we draw Consider. So obviously we can Breach here, but we don't have a concrete win lined up, and we need to get there with cantrips. Hey, wait, that's a Wish. So, alright, so we kind of immediately get there. But we are kind of rewarded for our patience in waiting as long as we could safely wait, and sort of maximizing our chances to hit what we needed to hit by even just doing stuff like scrying for the Sandbar to get that extra little bit of draw. We draw the Wish into our hand, even though we would have access to it in the graveyard with Breach. I'd rather just preserve the 3 cards in the graveyard and have the Wish in our hand. We can Hidden Strings, we can Breach, we're doing some untapping, and we Wish, Grip, Tome Scour, all that good stuff. Now we're just going off with Tome Scour. And we get game number 1 against Jund Saga. So that's pretty good. I didn't know they played the writing desk, although it does make sense with what they're trying to do, I guess. No, we are still going up and double wishing, just as so that we can have the pact available for any sort of funny business when we're playing Oracle. So we get game number 1. We are up a game in match 5, 9-0 in games, looking for that 10th game for the big 5-0. Let's see if we get it. Spoilers. Well, you know we get the match because I told you already. But do we get the game? Let's see. And our opening hand here is looking very good. We have Veil, we have Breach, we have Preordain, we have the Lotus Field and some lands. We have Boseiju for any sort of hate piece. But our Breach gets Thoughtseized on turn 1. Now note, I'm in a slightly awkward spot here, where yes, I could have played Boseiju and held the land up, but then I really don't get to maximize my cantrips. So I'm choosing to maximize my cantrips here and not hold up the Veil, because what are they even going to take if they Veil us here, or if they discard us again here? Maybe they take the Veil, but that's 1 discard already gone. And really what I want this Bowmasters for is what I want this Veil for is, spoilers, Bowmasters, right? So, I mean, I would use it on a discard, obviously, if they played a discard. But I would really rather have this to go off through Bowmasters, if needed, than, like, hold it up in the early game here and slow down my plan. So I'm going to go ahead and play the blue land here. We do find another Breach, which is nice, because that is something that we can win with. Our opponent plays a Saga. We pick up Sylvan Scrying, and we can go get some land that will do something with this. In particular, we get Minamo just as an untapped land that might have synergy with the Ring, if we draw the Ring. Could have also got Otawara for similar sort of reasons. And they have a Bowmasters. So they're going to hit us for a couple with the Bowmasters. We play the field, sacking Boseiju and Island. We can't really untap and do anything yet. I need some... well, first of all, I actually don't have enough mana. Second of all, I need Wish in order to get Scour. Our opponent gets Soul Guide Lantern, which is very unfortunate because they kind of guessed right? Because like they could Soul Guide and then have a way to stop Breach, or they get Haywire Might and they have a way to stop the ring. But they guessed right. But then they had the Haywire Might anyway. They have just both. They have both plans covered. Which is annoying. That's definitely annoying. And we draw the ring right not on time. So because I don't really have anything to do with this yet, like my other plan does not win with Breach. I need to just work my way through these things. So I am just going to play the ring. It does buy me a turn from their attacks. And for some reason I passed here. I absolutely should have drawn the card with Might. Yeah, or draw the card, because if I try and draw the card and then they might it in response, then it has no counters on it, so then we don't get to draw the card. So that was definitely a mistake. They play another Might. That feels bad. Pyrite Spellbomb. They eat this with Might. Okay. So it's our turn again. We draw Hidden Strings. Which is, I mean, it's something. I'm going to tap this, or untap this. No, sorry. I picked untap Lotus Field, tap Soul Guide Lantern. They are in a situation here where they could hold the Soul Guide Lantern and let it get tapped, but because I tried to tap it, they use it, right? So, okay. That's Soul Guide Lantern down, which is nice. But the problem is Haywire Might is still good against Breach. So I cycle the Lonely Sandbar, taking the draw or taking the hit from Bowmasters. I preordain, and I find Wish, and I think, well, I'm okay here, but the problem is this Haywire Might is still here. And I think I make a mistake there in that I tapped, but I have to count the mana, actually. So I Hidden Strings to untap 2 lands. Maybe I should have tapped the Stomping Grounds and untapped the Lotus Field. If I did that, I'd have 1... Well, the Otawara would still be tapped. So I'd have 5 mana. I could Breach down to 3 mana. I could Hidden Strings. But would I have... Yeah, I'd have just the Hidden Strings left in my graveyard. So I can Hidden Strings, that's +2, so I Breach down to 3 mana. I Hidden Strings up to 5 mana. I Wish down to 2 mana. But then if I Tome Scour, I need to hit a 1 mana untapper in the Tome Scour. I think that is worth it here as, you know, possibly what to do. But it didn't... It is a little bit risky. Basically, I need to hit a 1 mana untapper in my top 5 in order to win. So instead what I go for is Wish for Explosives to just buy myself as much time as possible. Figuring I'll kill the Orc Army, I'll kill both Constructs. They have 2 1/1s in play, so I should have a few turns here. So they Questing Druid, they attack. I crack the Explosives. They hit us for 2, down to 5. They play another Seek the Beast. And we draw the ring. So this is, even though it might seem like, okay, well, Haywire Might just eats it, this is pretty good. Because we can play the ring, and then Haywire Might will have to eat the ring. Here, I do wait because they just have the green mana open anyway, so maybe they like tap off the green mana or something. And also actually don't want to take the damage. So they play a Questing Druid. They don't play the other one because they want to leave the green up. So we draw the ring, a card with the ring at the end of the turn. We do just have Veil, so I'm not really afraid of this yet. I don't know why they didn't eat it with Haywire Might there. Maybe because they want us to kill ourselves into the face of the Bowmasters. But Twiddle was also a pretty good draw. I don't know why I did that in my upkeep. That was fully just a mistake. Then now they eat our ring now that we've played a Veil of Summer. Draw a second Breach, which is really not too helpful. Now we play a Breach. And now we're twiddling, wishing, Dream Script, Tome Scour, and we're off. So we beat double Haywire Might, Soul Guide, Lantern, Bowmasters. So they had a lot of hate in this game too, and we did just kind of play through it. I mean, yes, we did get a little bit lucky on drawing the ring when we needed to draw the ring just to eat the Haywire Might. We made a slight mistake when we played the ring, and I think it was defensible to go for it on the turn before with Hidden Stringsing down their land, forcing them to, or tapping them off of Haywire Might, and then trying to just hit a 1-mana untapper in our top 5 with the Tome Scour, if I mathed that right. In hindsight, though, if I had the 2 mana to Tome Scour and then hit a 1-mana untapper, why couldn't I just have Hidden Strings? Maybe I was too low on cards in my graveyard? I don't remember. Yeah, I think I was too low on cards in my graveyard, so then I would have had to... If I Tome Scour, then I only have the 1 mana, so I can't keep chaining. But then do I have enough mana to rechain the Tome Scour? I'd actually have to look at that again. It's possible that that wasn't even a possible line. But in any case, we get there, 5-0, 10-0. Twiddle Storm is powerful. We won through a whole bunch of hate against some pretty reasonable decks here. You know, Scam, Tron, you know. And yeah, I will definitely be playing more Twiddle Storm. I'll try to hopefully do a league where I'm giving some of my thoughts live. But like I said, I couldn't not go back and post this list. But I am still sort of in the early, or not post this list, post this this set of matches. But I am sort of still early in my testing with it for RC Denver, so who knows? I may not end up playing this, but I'm at least thinking about it. If you're going to be at RC Denver, you know, definitely feel free to let me know, and I'd be happy to say hi. I am going to be there, and maybe playing Twiddle Storm, or maybe Amulet, or maybe Merfolk or something. I don't know yet. Who knows? We'll see. Unfortunately, not ad nauseum. I don't think it's good enough right now, as much as that pains me. I will get back to trying some more ad nauseum stuff though, especially now that I've got some rings online. So I could try some interesting like 1 ring type of ad naus builds. I kind of want to just jam 4 1 rings with talismans and try to play turn 3 ring a whole bunch. Turn 3 ring seems to be pretty powerful, as this deck would suggest. Alright, until next time, yeah, see ya.